Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's stretching the meaning of the word new. You see, I'm going to be reviewing an album by Mach-Hommy and the god Fahim, Notorious Dump Legends, and this is a re-release. So if you don't know Mach-Hommy, he's one of my favorite rappers. I just discovered him this year, and he's already one of my favorites. And he's released a lot of material, and some of it has never made it onto streaming. So each time he releases something onto streaming or re-releases something, I'm going to review it. Why? Because how often do you get to discover someone who's like one of your new favorite anything? You know, I have so many rappers that I listen to, and this guy is like creeping in at the edges of making it into my top 10, like already, and I've only been with this music for about a year. You have to excuse the sound downstairs. The doctor and Mrs. is putting up some pictures in our basement. Right now, she's actually framing my Wu-Tang Clan towel, which has sometimes been shown in a video. So here we are, Mach-Hommy with the god Fahim, Notorious Dump Legends, and why not? Why not review this project? I've already reviewed Duck Season, which is another re-release from earlier on, but this is the thing about this project. Notorious Dump Legends. What? There's all these words. I'm an old man, I'm 44, right? And I have a hard time with hip-hop slang and when it evolves, you know? When I was a kid, capping meant you shot someone in the head. It didn't mean lying, you know, that kind of stuff. And there's all this like vocab, all this slang that's like just kind of gross. Dump, slime, drip, slump, like all this stuff. Like what does it mean? So I put out in the community section of my YouTube channel, hey, I'm going to be reviewing this album. What's a dump legend? Why does he call himself the dump god? Okay, why is it? And it turns out Council of the Gods, the artist who I reviewed last Thursday, told me that this refers to releasing a lot of music. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So they are dump legends because they dump so much product onto the consumer, onto the listener. But this is kind of an interesting question because along with this dumping, they also talk a lot about stocks, and Mach-Hommy refers to his listeners as investors. And we're kind of getting into an interesting question, which is always an interesting question with hip-hop, which is the relationship between commerce and art. Next week, a week from today, as a matter of fact, I'm going to be giving a guest lecture to a couple of classes at Harvard. I'm going to be doing it remotely, and it's going to be about French hip-hop, and it's all centered on the concept of commerce and art, and how has French rap evolved or devolved from its beginning days in the relationship between commerce and art. So here we have Mach-Hommy and the god Fahim talking about, hey, we're just dumping product, we're just stockbrokers, this is just business to us. But at the same time, we have one of my favorite lyrics in the entire album. It's a thing of art. This thing of ours is the darkness inside our heart. He might not have even said inside our heart. I'm not sure. Lyrics are always a little bit iffy with Mach-Hommy. But still, here's the concept. It's a thing of art. This thing of ours, the darkness inside. But which is it? Is it a thing of art? Is it a product dump? Thing of art, product dump. Yes, it is. These underground hip-hop artists, like Griselda, like Mach-Hommy, they understand they can make a good living by just dump, 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 as long as what? As long as the quality is up here. The quality's up here. In my day, the great hip-hop artists released an album every 2 years, and they were usually 70% good. Here, we have albums every month, multiple albums in a year, and they're all at a much, much higher quality. So is this just a product dump, or is this a piece of art? Absolutely yes. It is both. Now, part of it being a dump, I suppose, of an album, and by, you know, when I was a teenager, I had kind of a low sense of humor. And one time I made fun of a friend of mine for clogging up my bathroom. And I know that if I was a teenager now, I would refer to my friend as the Notorious Dump Legend. It's such a funny name. Like, when he came out of the bathroom, I said, wow, the Notorious Dump Legend has returned. But I'm not going to be crass here, right? Because dump can mean so many different things. It can mean poop. It can mean to break up with somebody. But in this dump, we have a consciously raw album. The beats are good. They're not developed. There's no beat changes. There might be a chorus, but it's just a chorus delivered hastily by Mach-Hommy. 1 or 2 verses, just spit out very quickly. So much of this project, and so much of everything that Mach-Hommy does, based on my limited exposure to his piles of dump, is based on the fact that he himself is so goddamn charismatic, so mysterious. His flow can change so many different ways. You can't quite read him. You don't know what he's going to do next. Like every word he says, you're just kind of psyched he's even talking. Even on this project, there's songs where he's not even on there, you know? So let me go through the album. Okay, it's a pretty quick album. It's an EP. I think I like it more than Duck Season, although not nearly as much as Pray for Haiti. It does seem, and I'm going to discover, I will be covering HBO probably at the end of the year. It does seem as though he has sort of his like premier projects, his sort of, you know, his best projects, his best work, and then these dumps, which are still very good, but sort of intentionally not as well polished. So as an example of what is going to be this album, I'm going to give you the first track of the album, Sportsman. I'll include a link to it up there. Okay? Seriously, go have a listen. Listen to this great. So Fahim produces most of this. It's this cool kind of lo-fi 60s rock loop. It's kind of like warbled guitar lead. I love this beat so much that every time the album turned over, you know, I went to the gym today and I lifted some weights and I was listening to this album and I worked out for a while and it repeated, you know, it repeated on the way to the gym and on the way back. And every time it repeated, every time it would turn over on title and start the album over again and this loop would come on, I'd just be like, damn. Starts with Fahim, good energetic start. I love that this guy's from Atlanta. It's very funny. It's nice. It's nice to have Atlanta artists who rap like East Coast rappers. You know, it reminds us that just because you're from a region doesn't mean you have to sound like it. Let's not forget, Designer, the guy who did Panda, was from New York, and he sounded like Future. I'm not a huge fan of Fahim's. That doesn't mean I don't like Fahim, and it certainly doesn't mean I don't think he's good. There is a certain... He really sounds to me a lot like a high-quality, standard rapper from the late 90s. Good bars, good rhymes, positive themes, some negative themes, some lines that stand out, but just in general kind of an energetic, good baseline rapper. It seems as though he's probably a better producer than he is a rapper, although he's good at both. He does have some great lines on this album, like on this song, "Poverty is the mother to all the pain that we suffer." There you go, right? Not blaming other people, but blaming poverty, blaming systematic class division, and of course, systematic racism. And then later he says, "I'm kicking poverty's head," which is, you know, so I love poetry. I love refined music. I love refined thoughts. Behold. But I also love lyrics like this that are just like, "I'm kicking poverty's head." What a weird personification of poverty as someone whose head you can kick. Then Hommy comes on or Mach. What do you call? By the way, what do you call him? Because I get a lot of like huge Mach-Hommy fans who come on this channel and watch my Mach-Hommy reviews. When you want to shorten his name, do you call him Mach or Hommy? Good question. So Mach comes on and says, "I keep the basset hound with me. Bear with me." Now my dog, my mutt, Bobo, is part basset hound, so I like that. But what's a basset hound? What does it mean? Is it like he's hunting? Is a basset hound a slang for a gun? A knife? A shooter? I don't know. But it's the kind of lyrics that I love from Mach-Hommy. Just it's this bizarre, ethereal chorus. Not ethereal, mysterious chorus. "I keep the basset hound with me, bear with me." And then his verse comes in and he's like, he has all these different, slightly different flows. On this one, his voice is like slightly out of breath or like slightly raspy, like it's at the end of a studio session. And one of the great opening lines to any rap song, "The ShamWow was on the dresser." I know, he's not talking about a ShamWow, the product that was made popular by the the criminal, right? Isn't he a criminal? The guy who did the infomercials for ShamWow. Tell me in the comments why that guy's a criminal. Sorry, the lighting on this video is a nightmare. My iPhone. I'm gonna move like this. Maybe the lighting will get better. Is that better? We'll see. I'm not gonna edit. Hey, I'm raw like Mach-Hommy. The next song is called Bag Bag, and it's almost as good as the first one. It's actually probably even better. I absolutely love this song. A gentle soul sample, a really good production feat by Fahim. It reminds me, again, the way it resolves, I've said this a couple times recently about different projects, reminds me of a song for graduation, just kind of a processional feeling that resolves really nicely, but there's these hums going underneath. This is the kind of beat that you just want to live inside of. You just want to like curl up inside this beat and just and just live inside this beat. He starts off, Mach-Hommy starts off with this chorus, and he gets a style sometime which is just sort of like, he's just kind of eating his words, you know? He's just sort of like, I think I found, okay, so somebody, sorry, I'm gonna do this, and now we have good lighting, good. Although now I'm just gonna stop. There's this opening where I believe he says, flip you like flapjacks, missiles in your hatchback, hit you like bag, 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 bag. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I love these lines. I think a lot of times, and I made a comparison between Mach-Hommy and Ghostface Killah, even though their flows aren't that similar, I think the way they approach the language is pretty similar, to where you know what he means, but you don't know what he means. Flip like flapjacks, missiles in your hatchback. And then coming up next is his verse, where like he has this great insouciant energy. You know, that's like, he just doesn't care. He just has this like great low-key vibe, which goes really nicely with Fahim's sort of upbeat there. When Mach-Hommy starts his verse, it comes across kind of like unexpected. Like he kind of starts and you're like, were you gonna wait another bar? I can't complain, baby mobile for my daughter. I can make it with rapper's chains. A beautiful image of, because it's a whole theme throughout this album. He's trying to make a house for his kids. He's trying to make enough money to be able to raise his kids comfortably. I like middle-class rapper dreams, you know? Like, he's not dreaming of being a Skrillionaire. He's not dreaming of the jets and the boats and the Lambos. What he's dreaming of is making sure that his kids are okay. But the image of rapper's chains being used as immobile, and it's a sign that he actually has a kid. Because when you have a kid, I don't know what's the deal. When you have a baby, you're like, I better hang something over their head. I did it. I got a baby? You know, oh, rock-a-bye, baby. We got to put some over its head while it sleeps. I don't know. Why do we stop having mobiles? Sorry, this is turning into a bad... Why? It's turning into a bad stand-up comedy bit. But it is true. It feels very much like he actually does have a baby, and the image of rapper's chains as a mobile is quite nice. Some more funny lines, kind of dissing rappers. You look like Lois Lane holding Superman's cape. I mean, Superman has been referenced and used going all the way back to Super Sperm with Rapper's Delight. And he's a great figure and is used perfectly right here. This is the song where he says, this thing of ours is the darkness that lives inside. Just a beautiful image. Oh my God, what a nightmare. I go on and on about how I don't edit these videos, but I set an alarm because the Rome Streets and Ransom vinyl was dropping at 1 o'clock. And so I set an alarm to make sure I could buy it. But it's for 1 o'clock tomorrow. So, all of that. This is a crazy video, huh? I'm like, I've got people like hammering, I'm moving the camera around, I'm editing. Hope you're all enjoying. Please tell me in the comments, like, how much does it annoy the hell out of you that this is, you know, a little bit of a rougher video? Or do you like it? Because I seem more authentic. Because I really am authentic. The next song is called Toothsome. I love all the titles on these tracks. Mach-Hommy knows how to come up with these funny titles. Again, it's tying in with that Ghostface Killah ability to play with language in a way that is menacing and humorous at the same time. Kind of a jazzy piano, a little more of a boring beat compared to the first two. It opens up with the line, keep your head on your shoulders by the god Fahim. Again, tying back into this idea of him being sort of like a 90s throwback rapper, just kind of like keep your head up we're down by poverty. There's a positivity to his style that is not forced and isn't like Mr. Brightside. You know, it's not like everything's going to be okay, but there is a positivity to his verses, which is quite nice. There's kind of a pop chorus sung by Mach-Hommy, and then some of his best verses. They're just an amazing verse. It's kill or be killed, these ain't never loved me, my stepdaddy made me meals, my real daddy never hugged me. I'm always in favor of acknowledging step-parents. There needs to be a step-parent day. Let's organize this thing. My goddaddy bought me anything I ever wanted. My granddaddy taught me things. You bet I'm getting cheddar Wody. Never get a minute, never dolly, better show me. I remember scrimmaging with lesser opponents. The extra bonus is clear when we bear the onus. Forever rolling the boulder, you clearly needing better focus. Serotonin is loaded, psychological triggers, rubbing shoulder. Brokers, we F with brokers. You broke and we up discussing culture. Every line there, I could take a couple minutes to figure out, you know. The whole thing about the stepdaddy and the goddaddy and the granddaddy and the great missing figure of the daddy, you know. And this scrimmaging lesser opponents, extra bonus, like the way he's playing with these words, opponents, bonus, onus, and then forever rolling the boulder, reference to Sisyphus, obviously. And then just brokers, we F with brokers, you broke, and we up discussing culture. And that's the thing. Whatever Mach-Hommy is doing, it's for the culture, you know, hip-hop culture. And I've kind of an awkward relationship with that term, the culture, because I so readily accept that I am a visitor to the culture, right? An observer of, but not a participant in the culture. So I'm not necessarily the right person to be talking about great lyrics about the culture, but here I am. Baleen Pocket Knife, produced by Earl Sweatshirt. Despite the fact that Earl Sweatshirt, you know, is prolific and a great producer, this is one of the worst beats on the album. So I don't know why. I can't really say why. It's just a little bit bland. Maybe just the first two tracks are so strong. I mean, it's a nice title. You know, baleen is the feeding system of whales. You know, they got that weird like teeth stuff. It's weird. It starts off with this chorus that rhymes with ought. It has Fahim talking again about growing up traumatized. I happened to be in a meeting yesterday, and the chair of the African American Studies Department was discussing the difficulty we're having with our students now. And he said an interesting thing about how African Americans are much more used to trauma, are much more accustomed to trauma just by the situations which many of them are raised in, and that the rest of our students maybe are trying to deal with the trauma of COVID. I think it's a fascinating idea. I don't know, but I think we could do a pretty good study of the relationship between trauma and African Americans as presented in hip hop. I mean, this would be much better done by someone much closer to that life experience than myself. But I do think there is something to be said there, and God Fahim really does a great job of constantly expressing the trauma of poverty and growing up in a bad situation. Another crazy mock verse, a great opener, you outsider as hell. Remember I was talking about, you know, being a visitor to the culture? I am outsider as hell. I can tell you're not from our world. He even has some Creole in there. Now listen, somebody, I'm not going to say who, because if I said who, Mach-Hommy would show up on their doorstep with a mask and break his computer. Somebody helped me with the lyrics on this album. I'm not going to say how, I'm not going to say when, I'm not going to say who. But even in that help, I did not get the help with what is the Creole being said here. Based on my knowledge of French, I heard puissance réservée à la distance, which is like power reserved from a distance, maybe. And then he ends it with yes. In general, the thing I like most about Mach-Hommy is how he integrates Haitian culture, mythology, the Haitian immigrant experience, the American Haitian experience, the Haitian experience, how he integrates the language, everything into his music. So that is one thing that's been missing on this and Duck Season for me, is I just want more Haitian culture. But as I said on my Duck Season review, the Chinese algebra, hey Skye, shut up. He's not here to make you happy. He's not here. His artwork is not to make you go, what an interesting representation of the Haitian diaspora. No, he's making his music for him. And if he doesn't want to rap in Creole all the time, who am I? I am outsider as hell. That's a great line. That's just I'm outside. I'm gonna use that now whenever I talk about myself and hip hop culture. Next song is called Feud. F-U-D, produced by The Architect. A great beat, very, very short loop. Like this loop is like half of a normal sized loop. It's got this cool, fun opening, like people doing that. Kung Fu, the only guest rapper on the entire album, as far as I can tell, comes in. He's quite good. And then Mach-Hommy just blows everybody out of the water. The God Fahim has the last verse. It's fine. He's outshown by these two. But Mach-Hommy comes out the gate, first of all, talking about taking out the cat of nine tails. Most people don't know this. The cat's out the bag is a nautical expression, meaning once you take the cat of nine tails, which is a whipping device, out of the bag, you have to use it. So it's too late. The punishment is going to be implemented, whether or not you repent. That's what cat's out of the bag mentions. And then he says something about, and again, this the secret lyrics that I got for this, said that it was 9 bales. So like slaves lifting up 9 bales. I assume maybe bales of hay. But I heard that as 9 bells, the nautical term for time. So I was wondering, is it possible that he's on a whole nautical theme here? Who knows? And then at the end of this verse, he totally changes flow and starts this weird attack and gets way more animated. Because Mach-Hommy knows how to do a verse like he's just sitting on your couch and relaxing and just kind of talking, and then all the words happen to rhyme, or some of the words happen to rhyme. And then he also knows how to rap and how to deliver bars where he feels like he's like trying to knock your teeth out with his cadence. Hobos use a tape for oil drum blaze, my dump, wave, F up, the lunch lady crumb cake, feng shui, what you do what sun say, we done crossed the Rubicon, breaking through Van Allen belts with uniforms, he Tutankhamun of the Yucatan, pharaoh of the closed doors, coke wars, we smoking barrels, golden heralds. I don't know what this all means. Van Allen belts with uniforms, Tutankhamun of the Yucatan. Really put that up there with some of the best Ghostface verses. The whole thing just has this great feeling. Olympic Fishes is the next song, kind of a sultry soul sample, very lo-fi. Definitely the low point of the album for me. The lyrics are a little too much, like lift yourself up and you can do it. I will say I like the very end. There's no real Mach-Hommy on this, just a little bit here and there, but he doesn't have a verse. And basically, any song that doesn't have a Mach-Hommy verse is my least favorite song on a Mach-Hommy album. Is usually the case. Let's see how consistent I am. It's real-ish. I'm just showing you the pain. The most terrible thing to waste is your brain. That's a very typical God Fahim lyric. A positive, thoughtful thing to say. Also slightly quoting the NAACP slogan, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." Next song is called Forward, produced by Sadhu Gold, who did some stuff with West Side Gun, if I remember correctly. And this has kind of like those 80s cartoon sounds, like the super frowns, kind of Hanna-Barbera weirdo sounds. I was thinking it reminded me of Dr. Octagon, but then I remembered, the first gangster rap song, PSK, by Schoolie D, has these sounds as well. One thing I really like on this is Fahim has the last words. And the last word on the song is goof. And goof is just one of the best words in the English language. Whenever I'm teasing my kids, or if they say, if I'm being sweet and teasing my kids, I call them a goof. You're being goof. What a great word. You're at home. You're by yourself. Say goof. Good. Hey, call to action. Say goof in my comments. Smash the like bucket hat. Don't do notifications. That's really annoying. I do like 3 to 4 videos a week. So basically, you're always going to have a new video from me, okay? If you think in mythological, then I'm the real Zeus. I'm like a big bottle of sealed truth. Hit me off with 100 stacks. I'll show you the proof. Goof. It's a great song. Army Surplus is the next track, maybe the best of Fahim in terms of flow, just very relentless. Again, just a chorus from Mach-Hommy, but I really like the relentlessness of the God Fahim can be heard, and some of these rappers losers. So I'm finna school you. I graduated from the streets. I said F a tutor, has this kind of loser, school ya, tutor, yeah. Halcyon Days is just a real, one of the most jazzy samples I've ever heard. Kind of a longer sample for this album. Not much of a song though, no Hommy verse, but it's okay because then we get Black Money, BLK money sign, produced by my favorite Canadian? Nicholas Craven. I believe he's Canadian. A great piano loop. Very strong descending bass line. And the whole thing is about money. No, it's not about that. It's not about I make it rain in the strip club. It's not about I got stacks and all that. It's about the inequality in the record industry. It's about the correlation between money and power in the record industry. Every 6 cents I make, you make $1. That's power. He is just straight up admitting how little money he makes on his own music, how little most rappers make in their own music. His cool growl sound makes an appearance, and all the way through here, he has this constant repetition in this chorus about how little money he's making on his own music, which reminds you of why it's so interesting the way he does things the way he does, where he sells things in small amounts for high amounts of money. The verses is more relaxed. He sounds almost half-baked. It sounds like a one take, just like they grab them with systematic violence, dodging immigration, vandalize their fathers, masculinizing their mamas for the paper, little babies getting swallowed on the pavement. No statements, no statements, no statements, no statements, no statements, no statements. Real powerful here, I think. Babies getting swallowed on the pavement, immigration system, all in here, and how little money they're making. Tracy Morgan is the next song. Best title? Not my favorite song. Again, there's barely any Mach-Hommy on here. I don't like so much how Fahim is listing off all these luxury brands. But I do like this one verse from him. I'm like the modern day Rakim, 100 tapes, nobody can stop him. In the booth, I'm like money. In the studio, I'm thinking about 100K. I'm getting paid like 100 ways, rocking more chains than a boat of slaves. There's correlation between chains, the rapper's chains that we're using for the mobile, the chains for the slaves, the chains that he's wearing. Survival Patch is the final song. It might be my favorite song on the album. Now you're raising your hand in the back of the class. Professor Skye? Professor Skye? Yes. You said you didn't like any song that doesn't have a Mach-Hommy verse. I lied. The song's great. I don't know why. Maybe it's the beat. Maybe this is just the God Fahim at his absolute best, just rapping great and had this really bizarre beat where everything sounds like it's falling on top of itself. Maybe I'm just getting used to the God Fahim sound and I'm not expecting more from it. He's just so great. I do it grassroots, stack the loot without a label. Gold ropes is tow trucks, cables. I watch my money, I don't watch cable. A great verse all the way through, again with these gold ropes and chains and truck cables and mobiles and slave chains. Mach-Hommy is just rhyming hurtin' with Tyler Durden, kind of a weird sort of Fight Club reference here. Got me hurtin' from dumping. And then the whole album ends with Notorious Dump Legends. That's what they are. They are notorious dump legends. And if you are lucky, like me, when you hear the words Notorious Dump Legends, you wait 3 seconds, and then the guitar starts for Sportsman, and the album starts over again, and you can keep listening. It's a wonderful, beautiful dump. Okay, well then. Apparently, Mach-Hommy is coming out with another album in November. Is it going to be a dump? Is it going to be a masterpiece? Either way, it's going to be good. I'm going to review it. Until next time, there's the camera. Thank you for auditing the always... What is it always? What am I always? I'm always positive. Sometimes I'm negative with myself, like when I forget my own slogan and when I have my keys in my pocket, which in 1 second would be like, tink, tink, tink,